On this episode of Carnage, the Trolvo is headed to the dyno. That's right, the Trolvo is back together. Ta-da! Doesn't look any different than it did before. So it has been about 8 months since we pulled the Trolvo apart, and we certainly didn't intend for it to be this long. But it's back together now, and we've done a lot of upgrades in that time. So, starting with the engine, we've got Kelford cams and springs. The cams are 272, 278. They are a good combination for a setup like this. We've gone the shimless buckets. It's got ported head, mildly ported, but just some pocket porting. Also got a good gasket, head studs. Basically, yeah, we'll be able to put more boost into it, and the cams are going to make more power. It's also got adjustable cam gears as well, so we could possibly make more power by adjusting them as well. So yeah, more boost, better cams, better sealing, so it should make more power. Now we ran 1095 with a stock unopened engine. There's not even valve springs. Stock unopened, 1095, 125 mile an hour. We expect it to be a fair bit quicker now. Also, we've done a diff upgrade. So instead of the weak 27 spline axles we were twisting all the time, we've got some beefy 30 spline axles. We've also changed the diff gears from 373 to 3.54. So hopefully that should take a little bit of sting out of it at the start line, because it was really having some traction problems, and give us a better top end, which is kind of what we want anyway. So yeah, that'll be pretty good. The stud pattern has changed on the rear. It has Ford stud pattern on the rear, so we had to buy new wheels for the rear. It's got brand new drag radials now. We also went steelies on the front as well. So skinny steelies with 195s at the front, 235 radials at the back. I mean, I think it's got every chance of running deep 10s, like low 10s, maybe even the 9s. This thing is probably going to get kicked out of Sydney Dragway. There's not much doubt to that. However, we have fired it up. We've bedded the cams in, because it's kind of a thing, you know, because it's got shimless buckets, so it's kind of like a solid cam now. They reckon it's good for 8,500 RPM. We've run the cams in for about 20 minutes at 2.5 to 3 grand. We put some zinc additive in the engine before we started, so that's all done. It's ready to go. In fact, I'll prove it to you right now. It runs. She lives again. But what it doesn't do is idle. The cams have changed the tune quite dramatically, so she doesn't idle. Zane will sort that out on the dyno tomorrow, but we need to do a few things before that. So let's get into that. As it sits right now, the Trolvo is ready to head to the dyno. However, before it goes to the track, I want to install this little Haltech switch panel with these little rotary trim switches. So that way we can adjust the launch control and the boost control at the start line if we need to. So if the track's not really good, you know, we can dial it back to like 3,500 RPM launch, you know, with only 27 PSI, something like that. Or if we want to go full send and go like 4,000 RPM on the launch and like 32 PSI, we can do that and adjust it just through these trim switches at the start line. No computers necessary. Very handy. But obviously we need to wire them up to the ECU, and we need to basically tell the ECU what these are controlling. So a little bit of work ahead of us. I've already created a little switch panel in the dash. We're going to attach that to that and make some modifications and get it all in. Let's do that. So I spent a couple of hours making that yesterday. Yes, it took a couple of hours, mainly because that's not direct up and down. They couldn't make it just a proper rectangular hole, could they? Yeah. So I'm going to mount this panel to the side. That leaves us some room for some extra switches down the track if we need them. Plus being closer to this side means they're easier to reach when I'm strapped into the car, and yeah, I can reach up and just adjust them if I need to, if I make a last minute decision to change something. Anyway, let's drill some holes and we'll get that attached. Seriously, what would we do without our drill press? It's perfect for when we need to fab stuff. So every car guy should have one. Here and forward, go and get one. Industry standard. Drilled and tapped. So that's what we've got so far. It's very raw and industrial with those big chunky 5mm Allen keys, but hey, it's not going to go anywhere, is it? So now that we've got that there, I'm going to mark out our centers so we've got a reference. So obviously we have to drill out our center holes for our trim pot spigot to poke through, but I'm actually going to drill out the centers but also drill out this back panel big enough to accept that, because we've got this little locating lug here. It has a hole on the back side of this Haltech panel which it locates in, which allows it to, you know, tell the switch where it is located in its sweep, and that way it'll know where each of these reference points are. So yeah, we'll drill 2 holes in the back of this panel, but yeah, it should come up looking all right once we're done. So the switches themselves come with these stickers, and you can see the little reference hole there. So you can use them, or you can buy the double switch panel, which is an accessory, but I like it. I like it a lot. The switch panel even comes with a single yellow dial. So we're going to set up, probably yellow will be boost and the other one will be launch. So, but yeah, having our holes on the back, you can see the reference points there. It makes it easy. A few people would have said, oh, why didn't you just drill a reference point in this panel? You know, you got to get it right. So why not use the panel we've got that's already got the reference point in it? You know, at least I didn't have to, you know, do some friggin' Pythagoras and theorem bullshit to make it right. So it works. It will be fine. Now for the fun part. We've got to wire up. Each rotary switch requires 3 wires, which gives us an opportunity to use some of these leftover wires from the ECU that we've been hiding under the carpet. So we've got 6 wires there. According to this, we need a 5-volt power wire. There's one there, the orange one. We need a signal wire, or AVI. We've got one there and a sensor ground, which we have a couple of them there. So basically 3 wires to each. I've just poked a red wire down through the dash so we can pull them up all the way through, like so. There we go. Alrighty. There we go, there's our 6 wires. And then we can wrap these ones up again, feed them back under the carpet. We'll never look at them again. But we got our 6 wires up there. We'll whack some pins on those and yeah, we should be good to go, hopefully. So I've just wrapped some tape around the 6 wires so they don't pull back through the dash, just leaving that like so. So we need power for each connector. All right, so these are the orange ones. They're 5 volt from the ECU. We need sensor ground for each. They're these black and white ones, so 1 for each. And the only difference between the 2 switches is they both get a different AVI. So what we'll do is we've got our list of AVIs and DPOs. So AVIs are analog inputs. DPOs are digital outputs, or spare digital pulsed output, but yeah. Just think of it as I is in, O is out. So AVI in, it's telling the rotary switch something, and basically that will tell the ECU where it is switched, and then it can connect that signal with an output. So we'll have we've already got the outputs going to boost control and stuff like that. We'll have another one going to the trans brake. It'll be all good. So we'll whack some pins on these, get a connector on them, plug it in. That is basically job done. Now just got to configure it in the ECU, but that'll be Zane's little job. Now just got to wire up trans brake button to the ECU and then DPO out to the relay. Fun. So we have wired up our little trim switches. We've also wired up the trans brake button and the trans brake, which were wired to each other before, but now I've had to wire them to the ECU, so that way when we hit the button it tells the ECU to activate the trans brake, but also activate the launch control, which will be, you know, an RPM 2-step limit. So anyway, got all that done. We've dumped the oil, put some fresh oil in there as well. We are pretty much ready for the dyno, and the boys tell us that yeah, we're going to be on the dyno in about 10 minutes. So this is the moment. We get to throw it on the dyno, see what she makes, and see what gains we can get. All kinds of gains. I'm hoping for about 550. 550 rear hook wheel horsepower would be sweet. Yeah, that'd be cool. And here we are back at max performance with the Trolvo. It has new cams, you know the story. So we're hoping to run 30 pounds of boost. That's what I'd be hoping. Last time we were here, stock unopened engine, it made 465 horsepower at the tyres or at the back axles. So hopefully we can see somewhere around the 550 rear wheel horsepower. That would be awesome. I think it'd be awesome. We'll see what power it makes with the gears set at neutral, at 0. And then maybe if the boys are happy to do that, maybe we explore what it makes if we adjust the timing on those gears. Who knows? It's all going to be exciting anyway. So let's let the boys hook it up. We'll see what power it makes. So Zane's still working on it, but he just did a pass there. It looked like about 21 pounds boost. It's making 456 horsepower at the tyres, so it's making almost the same power as we made before, but a lot lower boost. So when we crank the boost up, we're going to see some power. That's what he's going to, 8,000. Nothing. So what we've seen there is 529 horsepower at the tyres, smidge over 25 pounds of boost, might be 26, we might have nudged. That's pretty good. I think when we go to 30, we're going to see well north of 550 horsepower at the tyres, which or at the hubs, which is pretty damn good. So Zane's going to have some lunch. We'll let him have something to eat, and then we see if we can pump some more boost into it and try setting up that two-step and all that sort of stuff. So. But there, this is looking pretty good, pretty happy. Okay, so Zane has set up the switch, and what he's going to do is just run it through the various boost levels on the switch. Interesting to see how it goes. Switched over to 2. right now Zane is finding each position on the trim switch, but you've got to map each position. So there's a whole boost map. So he's got to find the right map for the level of boost that we want. So you've got all these load points. Well, you've got to put a value in for each of those load points. Well, right now he's still working out what load points work to get the boost curve in the right shape. So the power curve follows the boost curve. So to get that smooth power curve, Zane's got to smooth out that boost curve, and that's what he's doing right now. No. Okay, so you reckon camshafts make a difference? Yeah. So we're starting to suspect that we're out of turbo. We're throwing more boost at it, but because of the better flowing cam and heads and that sort of thing, it's not able to make the boost that we want. So before, we saw 27 pounds, but that was with stock cams, stock ports. Now that we've got slightly ported head, we've got camshafts, it breathes a lot more. So, boost pressure is a factor of restriction basically. So we're not having that restriction. We're letting the turbo have its head, but there's just not enough turbo there. So we may have hit our limit. Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah. So close. We wanted that 550 horsepower at the hubs, but 531 is the best that we've seen because we are going full send on the turbo, and the turbo doesn't have any more to give. All right. So we wanted 30 pounds. Unfortunately, this turbo on this setup with these cams and everything, 25 pounds is about it. Unfortunately. That's all right. The turbo was never made for this engine. This was one of the turbos that we pinched off the LS1 all those years ago. But now, we have found its limit. So we're going to race it as is, see what it runs with 531 at the hubs, which is a pretty good figure. Remember, this is stock bottom end. So 531, that'd be great. See what it runs. I'm sure it'll go deep into the 10s, and then we're going to go find ourselves another turbo and then come back another day, find more power, more boost, full send. And you'll see all that on a future episode of Carnage.